Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrill Suspense going back to June 1st, 1944. This episode, entitled Fugue in C minor, stars a couple of people you probably never heard of before, Ida-Lupino and Vincent-Price.
Roma Wines present Suspense. Roma Wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. Salud. Your health, senor. Roma Wines toast the world. The wine for your table is Roma Wine, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
The Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, welcomes you again to this weekly half hour of Suspense. Tonight, from Hollywood, Roma Wines bring you as stars Miss Ida Lupino, currently being seen in Warner Brothers' In Our Time, and Mr. Vincent Price of 20th Century Fox, soon to be seen in the Darrell F. Zanuck production Wilson. For the appearance of these two distinguished screen personalities, Lucille Fletcher has written a suspense play that deals with brooding anxiety and sharpening suspicion, played against the severe and forbidding background of the late Victorian era. And so, with Fugue in C minor, and with the performances of Ida Lupino and Vincent Price, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
April 1st, 1900. Dear Bessie, this is just to let you know that I've arrived in Pilotsville. Lizzie met me at the station. Of course, she is heartbroken about Papa's bankruptcy, and for some reason feels that it's up to me to remedy the family situation. I told her I'd been offered a job. She swept that idea away in horror.
A girl with your looks, Amanda Peabody, doesn't have to get a job. There are too many rich husbands floating around for that.
Furthermore, she says she has a rich husband already picked out for me right here in Pilotsville.
Don't you remember? I told you about him at Christmas time. He's a Mr. Evans, rich as Croesus. Charming, cultured, a lonely widower with two dear little children. And besides that, he's just your type, a real intellectual. You should hear him play the pipe organ.
And well, Bessie, I've met so few interesting men lately.
And all you'd have to do is lift your little finger. Mr. Evans.
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Chumley. How delightful to see you here.
I'd like you to meet my sister. Mr. Evans, my sister, Amanda Peabody.
Delighted, I'm sure.
It's a lovely party, Miss Evans.
Thank you, Miss Peabody. Have you just come to Pilotsville?
Yes.
She's down from New York visiting me after the whirl of the hectic social season.
Oh, indeed? Well, I'm afraid our Pilotsville society must seem a bit dull to you, Miss Peabody.
Oh, no, not at all. It's charming. I've enjoyed everything so much tonight. Your beautiful house and the music. I hear you're going to play for us, Mr. Evans.
Oh, a bit. Do you care for organ music, Miss Peabody?
Oh, yes, very much. I never miss a church recital. But what a luxury it must be to have your own pipe organ right here in the house.
I'm afraid I couldn't do without it. It's my hobby, you know. Bach and Buxtehude, César Franck. Don't you adore their works?
Amanda's very musical. You should hear her render The Burning of Rome.
Oh, yes. And the delightful thing, of course, about having a pipe organ in the house is that it's everywhere. To sit at the keyboard and hear the walls, the ceilings, the floors vibrate. You see, Miss Peabody, I've had the pipes installed all over the house. Under this floor, for example, are all the choir stops. Up in the bedroom walls are the stops for the swell manual. The great 32-foot pedal stops, the giant diapasons, are underneath this staircase. My children sleep next door to the echo chamber. So you see, we live like angels here in a paradise of music.
How thrilling.
Oh, ladies, come upstairs to the second floor landing, won't you? And I'll show you the console. It was made for me in Vienna.
April 7th, 1900. Bessie, dear, to tell you the truth, I really find him fascinating. I wish you could hear him play. It sweeps you off your feet. There is such wildness to it, and at the same time, such dignity. And to hear the sound all through that marvelous house, rolling through those gorgeous rooms with their beautiful tapestries and potted palms, I could listen to him all night.
You have the most amazing eyes, Miss Peabody. What are you thinking about?
The music. Oh, please don't stop. It's so beautiful.
You seem to be as mad about music as I am. Your sister says you play too.
Oh, no, only a little. My appreciation of it is all inside, I'm afraid.
Well, that's plenty. If one can't play, it's better just to enjoy the music of others. I can't bear this sentimental drumming, can you?
I shouldn't think you would enjoy it.
The idiotic tunes people play nowadays. Give me the old stern classics. They have strength and power. Give me something with life to it, something that will flood the whole house with sound.
Oh, that's marvelous.
You're a very unusual girl, Miss Peabody. Quite unlike the run of girls we have down here in Pilotsville.
Yes, in what way?
Oh, it's rather hard to explain. Won't you have some more tea, Amanda?
No, thank you.
A muffin.
Oh, yes, thank you. You have an excellent cook, Mr. Evans.
Please, call me Theodore. You know you promised.
Theodore?
Amanda.
Your house is beautifully run, too. You must have an excellent housekeeper. Everything's always so charming and quiet. I haven't even heard a peep out of your children.
My children? Oh, yes, the children. They've been away at school.
You have two, haven't you?
Yes, Daphne and David.
What sweet names.
Ordinarily, I don't approve of schools for young children, but they were rather overwrought. You see, after Mrs. Evans passed on...
I can well understand.
Well, they were almost morbidly devoted to their mother, and then, of course, the unfortunate circumstances of her death. But I suppose your sister, Mrs. Chumley, has told you all about that.
Well, no, not very much, except your wife was killed in a street accident, wasn't she?
Yes, in Philadelphia. A brewery wagon and 4 horses ran her down.
Oh, how terrible.
Something I don't like to think about very often. Poor, beautiful Margaret. Well, it's like a nightmare, Amanda, and I still can't feel reconciled. But what I was driving at, the children, they were in school when she died, and by some malicious stroke of fate, there was an epidemic of scarlet fever raging up there. The authorities wouldn't lift the quarantine to let them out for her funeral.
Poor little things.
It upset them dreadfully, and in fact, I sometimes fear it's left a mark on them which may endure all their lives.
What do you mean?
They suffer from delusions about her. They think that in some way she is linked. Her soul is imprisoned in the organ pipes.
How terrible.
I wish I could do something about it. It's a frightful notion, but they don't want me to play when they're home. That echo chamber in particular, next door to their bedroom.
Yes?
Well, you know, it's nothing but an empty sealed room with a few wires. Of course, it's all because they never saw her dead. But they have a notion she's, well, somehow hidden there.
How ghastly. They really think that, do they? Children can think up such very strange things in their little minds. Can't they?
Tonight, for Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as stars Miss Ida Lupino and Mr. Vincent-Price, whom you have heard in the prologue to Fugue in C minor. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
June 1st, 1944, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medi-Share for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medi-Share's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medi-Share is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Vincent Price, still a newcomer to the media, when this came out in 1944. He made his film debut in 1938. 1940, he played Joseph Smith in the movie Brigham Young, and then got into the horror genre a bit later on. Now more of Suspense, Fugue in C minor, starring Vincent Price and ida-lupino, June 1st, 1944.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our soundstage Ida-lupino as Amanda Peabody and Vincent Price as Theodore Evans in Fugue in C minor. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
April 18th. I met the children today, Bessie, for the first time. It was a shock. They're strange little creatures, utterly unlike their father. The girl is about 11 and the boy 8. They were both dressed in deep mourning. Their large grey eyes seemed strained with terror, and they listened and trembled at every sound.
This is Miss Peabody, children. She's a very good friend of mine. Now I want you both to shake hands with her. Well, come now, Daphne. You can at least tell Miss Peabody how old you are.
Oh, no, please don't press her. I know when I was a little girl I hated people to talk about my age. I'd much rather hear about school.
We're not going back there, no matter what anybody says.
David.
Oh, that's all right. Then you didn't like school?
No, and Mama didn't like it either. She cried when we went away.
Oh, but your Mama wanted you to be educated, didn't she? She wanted you to grow up and be intelligent people, didn't she? Well, didn't she, Daphne?
Who are you?
You may call me Aunt Amanda. I'm a friend of your papa's.
Do you know where my Mama is?
Your Mama? Well, your Mama's in heaven, dear.
No, she's not.
Then where is she, dear?
Don't start them off again, Amanda, please. It's too upsetting. Now, come along, children. We're going to have a little music now, like old times. Do you remember when your mother was alive? We all used to play together. David, you with your cornet, and Daphne at the violin, and Mama at the piano. Well, Miss Peabody plays the piano, too, and she's promised to play Narcissus, Mama's favorite piece. Well?
Perhaps some other time, Theodore, when they don't feel so strange.
I tell you, I've humored them to death, Amanda. Now, come, David. There's your cornet on the mantelpiece, and Daphne...
No!
I insist. Now, look, I'll start the melody on the organ. David, you come in with your cornet obligato in the third measure. Daphne, you can follow me. Now, come along, children.
What's that note? That note making that funny noise.
What note? Oh, you mean that. Oh, that's just a cipher. A wire must have stuck somewhere, or one of the pipe valves.
It's Mama. That's where Mom is. She's calling for us.
Oh, don't be silly. I'll just hit the key a few times and it'll stop. You've heard these ciphers before, haven't you, Miss Peabody?
Well, I don't know much about pipe
It's a
organs.
common technical occurrence, but very annoying, of course.
What is she doing in there? Why doesn't it stop? That's where she is. She's in the pipe and she can't get out.
Daphne, stop that nonsense.
Oh, hush, dear. Your papa will fix it.
No, he won't. He can't. She won't let him because he killed her.
What? Daphne, what did you say?
Oh, she didn't mean it, I'm sure. The poor little thing's hysterical. We should never have tried to persuade them, Theodore.
Amanda, just because they never looked upon her face, because they never saw her lying there in the coffin.
Oh, hush, hush.
Oh, to think that my own children should believe that I am a murderer.
Theodore, you're
As
making
though
them both sick.
I, who loved their mother so much, who was so devoted for 12 years. Do I look like a murderer, Amanda? Do I?
No.
There it is again. It's Mama. It's Mama.
Oh, shh, dear. I'll take them upstairs for you, Theodore, while you try and fix it. April 24th. Oh, Bessie, those poor little children. We took them out to the cemetery today to show them her grave. A marble angel guarded it. It was planted with pure white tulips. How final it was and peaceful. And yet, they began to tremble again the moment we set foot inside the house. Poor Theodore. The man is nearly out of his mind. What can he do? I keep asking myself that question. What can he do? She died in Philadelphia, you say?
Yes, on May 15th, just a little less than a year ago.
And you went with her?
No, she went there to take a piano lesson. There was this new teacher she'd heard about. She was always so self-conscious about her technique. But she never reached his studio. They notified me at midnight from the city morgue.
And no one in Philadelphia saw her?
No one, except the attendants at the morgue, of course, and the people who picked her up after the collision. It was such a brutal accident.
But there'd be no one from among them who could speak to the children, explain to them.
Oh, no. Oh, it's all too horrible. So sordid.
I know, my dear, I hate to make you suffer, but if we could find some way, if they could just believe... When you brought her back here to Pilotsville, there was a funeral.
Yes.
And was there anybody then who saw her?
No, I couldn't bear it. I didn't think at the time. She'd been so beautiful. Her lovely, sweet, gentle face and her eyes. The horses had completely trammeled.
Oh.
Even if the children had been able to come home, I wouldn't have let them look. The coffin was sealed when I left Philadelphia. I didn't want to see her again myself.
But there was a funeral. People came. There were flowers, an undertaker.
Yes?
Well, if they could believe that, if there was one witness, perhaps Lizzie, my own sister.
Funeral, Amanda? Of course there was a funeral. The finest funeral in town. A snow-white hearse and 25 coaches. Everybody sent flowers. The casket wasn't opened, but I've been to lots of funerals where they don't open the casket. And from what I understand, she was pretty badly mangled. But it was a beautiful funeral. Mr. Evans played the organ himself. The finest selections. All the sweet old pieces his wife liked. There was Narcissus and Mighty Like a Rose and Goodbye Forever.
So you see, David, my sister, Mrs. Chumley, was there.
Yes, but how did she know it was Mama?
Oh, David.
She didn't see Mama, did she?
Well, nobody saw your poor Mama, dear. She wouldn't have wanted anyone to see her.
Mommy wasn't there. She talks to us every night. She tells us to look for her.
Where, dear?
In the pipes.
But, David, your Mama's dead. She's been dead for nearly a year. Now, you saw her grave out in the cemetery. She's happy and at rest.
Why doesn't Papa give us a key? If he'd only let us have it, we could look for her.
What key, dear?
The keys to the pipes. There's a little door just underneath the stairs. That's where the big pipes are. And inside it's all dark. But there are the tunnels. There's a little room. A little room.
Dear.
That's where she's hiding. That's where Mommy is. That's where Mommy is.
Oh, David, darling, now look, come here.
No, I hate you.
But why do you hate me? Why don't you let me help you?
Because...
Because what?
Because you like him.
Him?
Papa, you're going to marry him, aren't you? Yes, you are. Rafina says you are. You're going to marry him. Then he'll send us back to school. There'll be no one left to help Mama. Poor Mama will never be left out. Oh, I hate you. I hate you.
David, what are you doing here? David, did you strike Miss Peabody?
He's sick, Theodore. I'm sure he's very sick.
Now go to your room at once. Oh, those dreadful children. I tell you, Amanda, they'll ruin whatever happiness we might have.
Theodore, I love you very much. But I couldn't marry you. Not with that child's cry ringing in my head. We've got to help them. Give them that key. Let them go and look in the room where the pipes are. Then they'll see for themselves that there's no ghost.
Key? Who told you about a key to that room?
The children.
The children? Amanda, I'm going to tell you something. Something I've never told to a living soul. It may frighten you.
Yes.
Margaret was going mad when she died.
Oh.
No one knew it but me. It ran in her family. I discovered it long after we were married, after the children were born. Otherwise, I'd never have...
And now you think the children?
I'm afraid so. It was peopling of sound she had, just like them. A fear of the dead's returning. She used to play... What's that?
Sounds like the organ.
But the motor isn't on. The console was locked when I left.
Someone's trying to play.
No one but me can touch that instrument. It's forbidden in this house, and the servants are out. Unless those children... Come upstairs, Amanda.
Theodore. Why, there's no one here. No one at the keyboard. The organ's playing itself.
That's impossible. The motor's not going.
The motor?
Yes, it sets the bellows going. There's no air in the pipes unless it's on. No air to make the pipes speak. It's impossible, I tell you.
Perhaps the children found the key and got in.
Key? No. The key's here in my pocket.
There's no other way in.
No.
Theodore, open that door. Go in there and see what's happening, please.
No.
Theodore.
I won't give in. I won't be a prey to it. Do you hear? I won't. Here. It's stopped now.
Yes.
It was probably nothing but the wind.
Theodore, give me the key. I'm not afraid.
Are you saying that I am?
I don't know. But I'll be fair with you, Theodore. I couldn't marry you and live here with that any more than your children can.
What do you mean?
Rip out those pipes. Rip out the whole pipe organ. Give it to a church, but don't keep it here.
Get rid of
it's
the
not
pipe
worth it.
organ?
Yes.
But I couldn't. The whole house was built around it. It's been the very soul and spirit of this home.
It's been the curse, you mean. Theodore, I know I'd go mad, too, if I had to listen to it night and day. It's so hollow. Think of those pipes so huge down there in the darkness. I'd begin to hear things, too. Oh, it's...
Be quiet. Be quiet. Come outside. We'll take a walk.
No. No, give me the key. Give me the key.
You're hysterical, Amanda. Sorry, I've overburdened you.
Why don't you want to go in there? Is it because you know something? You did something?
What do you mean?
Did you kill her?
Amanda. Very well, Amanda. Here's the key. If that's the way you trust me, we'll go down and look around together. Come now, Amanda.
I'm sorry, Theodore. It slipped out.
The conclusion of Suspense, June 1st, 1944, comes up following these important words here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Suspense, Fugue in C minor, starring Ida-Lupino and Vincent-Price, June 1st, 1944.
It was a dreadful thing to say.
It's all right, I understand. Yet it hurts a little. I've trusted you so completely, Amanda.
Theodore.
Yes, Amanda?
Let's not go in there. I do trust you, darling. I believe everything you've told me.
No. This little key, to think it should mean so much.
Black it is.
Yes, pitch black.
And cold. Where are the pipes? I can't see them.
Come in further, Amanda. You'll see them as soon as your eyes grow accustomed to the darkness. The biggest pipes packed this well under the great staircase like giants.
Oh, yes, I'm beginning to see them now. Shouldn't we go and get a candle?
Oh, no. Go in a little further. Be careful. The floor's a maze of wires. Now stand there for a second.
Theodore, don't leave me.
I won't be long. I thought you said you weren't afraid.
No, I'm not only... Where are you going?
Just upstairs to play for you.
Theodore.
I'd like you to hear how the music sounds in the darkness. It's quite an experience being so close to the pipes. You know, narrow, suffocating, especially when I play the great Passacaglia and Fugue of Bach.
Oh, Theodore, please. I don't want to stay here.
Perhaps one of the Rheinberger symphonies or the great chorales of César Franck. Margaret, of course, preferred Narcissus.
Margaret?
You're very gullible, Amanda.
Then you did kill her. You killed her in this room. And you're going to kill me.
Yes, simple, isn't it?
But why?
I don't
Why?
know. One gets tired every now and then of mere music. Sometimes the classics demand competition. A scream, for example. There's something so exciting about pulling out all the stops and drowning out all human sound. Have you ever tried to match your voice, Miss Peabody, against the thunderous voice of Bach? It's most effective. And then when the struggle gets weaker, when the air is almost gone and you choke and gasp for breath, to bring the music down softer, softer.
Theodore, you're mad. You're mad.
Come, Amanda. Would you deny me that pleasure?
No.
I promise you the concert won't be too long. It takes about 8 hours before the air gives out. But you know, I could play for days. And don't worry about the children. I think you've convinced them about the ghost. What's that?
Theodore?
Someone shut the door. It's locked and the key's outside. Who's there? Let me out. Let me out.
Theodore.
Get away from me. Let me out, you hear? Let me out. Let me out. I can't breathe. I'm suffocating. It's so dark. I can't breathe. Let me out, please. Please. I can't breathe. I can't. No, don't. I can't. Let me out. I can't breathe.
Theodore. Theodore! Let me out! Let me out! He's dead! He's dead! David, where are you? Open the door! Help me! Help me! Oh, no! No! Help! May 1st, 1900. I shall be coming home in a few days, Bessie. I still can't sleep at night. I still hear that laughter. Still hear that cornet playing its unearthly music. And Theodore Evans once more lies dead at my feet. It was his heart, Bessie. He died of fright. In those few moments, he anticipated the hideous fate he had meted out to so many. And I might have died there if he had not gone so quickly. But the children hated me. They wanted to kill us both. Those terrible, pathetic children. What horrors they must have sensed in that charnel house. There were other women beside his wife. The police found them all buried and stuffed away into unused parts of the pipe organ. Bessie, I was in that pipe room alone with him for 4 hours before that door creaked open. There they stood, and I shall never forget their faces or the things they said.
All right, Miss Peabody. You can come out now if you're really sorry.
I'm sorry.
Are you sure he's quite dead?
Yes, he's dead.
We were right all the time, weren't we, Miss Peabody?
Yes, you were right.
Now, will you come and help us find Mama?
And so closes Fugue in C minor, starring Miss Ida-Lupino and Vincent-Price. Tonight's tale of Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by William Spear.
This is ida-lupino. Mr. Spear has just been telling me a little about next week's Suspense show. The stars will be Thomas Mitchell and Donald Crisp in a story about a man who had headaches, tried everything to cure them, finally went to a psychiatrist, and found out that he was a murderer. That certainly sounds like a broadcast we listeners won't want to miss. One more word. Please don't forget to buy that war bond this week.
Next Monday, same time, you will hear Thomas Mitchell and Donald Crisp in Suspense.
June 1st, 1944, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
For what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Now let's move from horror to soap opera, an episode of the soap opera Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. This episode originally broadcast June 1st, 1948.
And now, Claudia. Oh, just smell the air, David. The evening air in Eastbrook is so wonderfully fragrant.
Just another 5 minutes drive and we'll be home. It seems even sweeter on the farm.
I hope so. Did you tell Claudia I was coming?
I didn't have a chance to call her. We left the office in such a hurry. But it'll be a pleasant surprise for her.
Doesn't she mind this kind of pleasant surprise?
Good heavens, no. She thrives on them.
You have quite an extraordinary wife.
I know I have.
That reminds me. What about your lunch?
What about it?
Well, do we or do we not tell Claudia?
Do we or do we not tell her what?
David, don't pretend to be dull. Tell her about with whom you had your lunch.
Oh, you mean about my lunching with Victoria Manners.
At last. After all, it's not every day that you lunch with Broadway's handsomest star. Or is it?
It isn't, thank heavens.
Thank heavens? I thought she was a glorious-looking creature.
I ate so much, I was so sleepy all afternoon I could hardly keep my head up.
But you must have had beautiful dreams of the beautiful Victoria Manners.
I don't know whether to take you seriously or not.
Take me seriously and answer me. Are you going to tell Claudia about your having lunch with Victoria Manners?
Of course I am. Why not?
Well, it isn't the sort of thing one usually tells a wife, is it?
Frankly, I don't know. I haven't had lunch with a blonde, unattached single female since the day I was married. I suppose it isn't the thing one tells a wife.
Now you're making sense.
At least it isn't what one tells an average, everyday, typical wife, but Claudia isn't that kind of wife.
They never are. Until they are.
You are very profound today, Roger.
But, David, why tell Claudia something that may hurt her unnecessarily?
Because I think enough of Claudia that I know it isn't going to hurt her. After all, I was going out to lunch in the first place because I promised Claudia I was going to eat a decent meal. Then, when Miss Manners just happened by and invited me to join her...
Happened by? She took an elevator up 22 floors, knocked on our office door, and invited you to take her to dinner. And that isn't just a casual chance occurrence.
As far as I'm concerned, it was. Personally, I think she's a rather dull young person. Miss Manners has lived a great deal too much without having understood enough of it. So I shall tell Claudia. I'll make a bet with you, Roger.
Anything you say.
I'll bet you that Claudia doesn't raise an eyebrow. I'll bet you that Claudia is absolutely delighted and pleased and will suggest that I do it more often.
$10 on that.
$10 it is. Now, this is going to be an easy way of getting my money back for what I considered was a very expensive lunch.
Ho, ho, ho.
Here we are. Home sweet home. All right, all out.
Look, David, let's forget that silly bet. Don't tell Claudia about Victoria Manners. What's the use?
You're really serious. You really think she'll be upset?
Oh, not necessarily, but it was so innocent. There's no need to tell her.
Well, that's exactly why.
Oh, now I wish I'd gone straight on to Boston.
Now you're starting to get me worried.
David, welcome home. I've been waiting for you all day.
Hello, darling.
And Roger, what a wonderful surprise.
I do hope you don't mind, but David insisted.
Mind, it's wonderful. The sheets came back from the laundry and everything.
I am not spending the night. I am merely borrowing a little dinner, and then I'll be on my way.
We will discuss that later. Oh, it's so nice to have you home. Come on, both of you, into the house. Tell me, what'd you do all day?
Oh, I played a little golf, a couple of sets of tennis, went swimming a while, and then I flew my airplane down to Texas. What'd you do, Roger?
You worked hard.
He did. He worked all day. He hardly stopped.
Oh, come on, let's sit in the living room and talk. You can wash up afterwards. Roger, did you say that David hardly stopped working all day?
Hardly. And he accomplished worlds of work.
David, answer me. Did you stop for lunch?
Barely.
Roger.
But, Roger, when I called, you told me David had gone out to lunch. That he was going to eat enormously.
Oh, so I did.
And I did eat enormously.
He hardly took any time over it. Did you, David?
Only 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours.
I told you he'd eat a 12-course dinner, not a 24-course one.
Well, David eats very slowly.
Say, what is going on here? First, he hardly stops to take a deep breath, then he eats so slowly it takes 2 hours.
Now, wait a minute. Now, listen, Roger. Get this straight. A bet is a bet.
David, let's call it off. I warned you.
What's the big secret? Did you have a stomachache, David?
Not quite.
Darling, tell me the truth. Tell me you had a decent meal. You hardly had any breakfast. Tell me that you
I ate at La Place.
Ooh.
A French restaurant. I ate everything on the menu. I'll never do it again. I was sleepy all afternoon.
Oh, whew.
Is that what the mystery's about?
That's all.
Claudia, this partner of mine is living in the past.
Oh?
He is so consumed with intrigue and romance that he's afraid I'll tell you, darling, that I had a beautiful blonde for lunch.
No wonder it took you 2 hours. Was she tough or tender?
You see, Roger?
Did you have her broiled, baked, or fried?
You see, David? She still doesn't believe you.
I don't believe what?
Darling, I am not Jack the Giant Killer.
You're not? I thought you were.
I did not eat the blonde. I had lunch with her.
Blonde? I didn't know you knew a blonde. What blonde? Tell me all about her.
You met her the other night, dear. Victoria Manners.
You had lunch with Victoria Manners?
Ho, ho, ho.
Hush up.
Well, how come you had lunch with her?
Well, I was just leaving the office because I'd promised you that I would eat a good lunch.
Don't blame her on me.
Ho, ho, ho.
And there I was with my hat and coat on.
Too warm for a coat today.
Figuratively speaking, I was just about to leave the office when Miss Manners came in and simply point blank invited me to have lunch with her.
Well, that was very forward of her, wasn't it? Did you have to accept?
Well, I didn't want to be rude.
I see.
After all, she's a friend of a friend of yours.
Practically a relative.
And she was very nice. And
just how nice was she, David?
Well, she was very friendly. She just...
Very friendly, eh? I'll bet she was friendly.
David, don't say I didn't warn you.
Darling, you're not jealous, are you?
Well, not exactly jealous, but the last time I asked you to have lunch with me, you said you were busy. Working.
I was, but today you made me promise I'd... Well, I don't have to say it again, do I?
I must say, David, this is pretty sudden. I suggest you eat, and... Was she very friendly?
Very.
Oh,
Maybe someday you'll listen to me, David. I told you I've had more experience with this sort of thing.
What sort of thing do you mean by this sort of thing, Roger?
Well, I mean... Well, it's just that after all, a husband...
Yes?
Oh, I ought to have had enough sense to keep quiet.
David, stop blushing and tell me. What'd she have to say?
Well, she hoped you were feeling well. It's about...
Oh, me, I'm fine. What else did she say?
Look, David, why don't you just give me my $10 and let me be on my way to Boston?
I refuse to feel guilty.
Roger, why go so fast, for heaven's sake?
Well, I'd rather not be in the way while you two...
While we two what?
Thrash this thing out, shall we say?
What's there to thrash about? What's that $10 Roger says you owe him?
Oh, we just made a bet.
Skip it, please.
Claudia, is there anything more you want to know about the lunch I had with Victoria Manners?
Of course there is. Lots more.
Oh, this sort of talk is fatal.
Well, let's get it over with. Now, go on, Claudia.
Did you really enjoy it? Is it a good restaurant? Should we go there sometime?
What did you say?
I simply asked if we should go.
Ho, ho, ho.
Now, what kind of an answer is that?
Ho, ho, ho. I think you owe me $10, Roger.
You are not making any sense at all. Giving each other $10 bills as if they were dimes. You haven't told me yet if you had a decent lunch.
I had a very decent lunch, but it's not going to cost me a cent.
What do you mean?
Darling, tell me straight the truth.
Straight the
I
truth.
am guilty. So do you mind that I had lunch with Victoria Manners?
Now, let me see. Do you mean, do I want to scratch her eyes out?
Well, you don't have to be so violent about
You
it.
mean that I'm so jealous that I can't see straight?
I wouldn't exaggerate
You mean
as
that
far
I'm
as...
furious with you for having had lunch with another
Now,
woman?
darling, I didn't know you'd be so upset. I'd have
You mean
never...
you'd prefer it if I just didn't care at all who you gallivanted around
Well,
with?
I just didn't think you'd take it so seriously.
So
That's...
you want to know whether I'm angry at you for having lunch with Victoria Manners. Is that it?
I still wish you hadn't said anything, David.
Were you afraid to tell me?
Not until Roger started to make me feel guilty.
What do you think I think, darling?
I'm so mixed up, I don't know what to think. 1 minute you're talking about she was very friendly. The next minute you want to know was it a good lunch, and now you're threatening to scratch her eyes out. You've got me so mixed up,
Don't be mixed up. I was spoofing. And I don't want to scratch her eyes out, darling. I think it's an awful shame.
What is an awful shame?
Poor Victoria Manners.
Poor Victoria Manners.
She's obviously falling very much in love with you. I can't blame her at all. I did, too.
I don't believe my ears.
It must be awful to find yourself falling in love with a man, not being able to help it, and having the sort of feeling that it's hopeless.
What on earth makes you say she's falling in love with me?
Well, any girl, even Victoria Manners, who'd ask a married man to lunch, must be love. I'm glad I'm not her.
I would like to sit down. This is momentous.
Why, Roger? Because I can't be jealous of somebody I feel so sorry for. David, maybe I'm a fool to trust you, especially with somebody like Miss Manners, who's out to get you. But I love you, and that makes me an idiot, doesn't it?
Anything but.
You win. Both of you. You're not like anything I've ever seen before. Here you are, David. $10.
Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome. Because Claudia is the most extraordinary woman I have ever laid eyes on.
Thank you, Roger. Darling, you mean you've won $10 because of me?
I have indeed. A nice, crisp $10 bill.
Give me.
Because you are a wonderful idiot, and I love you.
That's wonderful. It means you can have lunch with Victoria Manners again. For nothing. And then I'll know you'll eat a really decent meal. It's wonderful. I'll go on up and wash you, too, while I set an extra place for dinner. Dum, dum, da-dum, dum. La, 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 la.
It's nice, isn't it, that you can get Coca-Cola around the corner from anywhere today. You can stop when you're marketing and have an ice-cold Coke right in the grocery. You can pause during shopping for a Coke in your department store or variety store. When you're driving, you'll find Coke at the gas station, too. This friendly service enables you to shop refreshed, drive refreshed, work refreshed, whoever you are and whatever you do.
Well, Mr. King, it looks like I lost $10.
Well, it does look like you did.
Claudia is absolutely unpredictable. She reacts absolutely differently than any other wife or woman I've ever known.
That's what makes her Claudia.
To be delighted that her husband took another woman to lunch, then to be sorry for the other woman. Amazing.
Oh, well, you'll get used to it, Mr. Killian. You know, a surprise every day.
What's the surprise tomorrow?
Well, I understand that David's going to stay home from the office for a few days.
Yes, he has a great deal of work to do drawing up the plans for the freight terminal we're designing. So I suggested he stay on the farm to do the work, uninterrupted by phones and other office distractions.
Are you suggesting that there will be no interruptions or distractions at home with Claudia and Mama?
Claudia promised me she'd keep his nose to the drawing board.
Well, we'll see how it works out tomorrow.
June 1st, 1948, Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Would you thank this radio station and support their advertisers? It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. Would you also take a moment, if you miss a day on the station, you don't have to miss a show. You can find them all on Spreaker, on Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And as always, you can find our shows at my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you stream the shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can leave us a tip if you like. classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.